This whole idea, and certainly throwing the snowman, came about from actually being invited to a preschool where my daughters were in preschool, and the director said, "You're going to have a very hard time entertaining these young kids. Their attention span's really short." So I sort of thought quickly with my hands, what can I do? And I thought I'd throw 4 cups. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to just throw cups. I'm going to throw a snowman, and I'm going to throw a flower, and I'm going to throw a bent can, and I'm going to throw sticks and snow. And I was surprised, because as I started throwing, the kids sort of spontaneously started chanting, "Throw the snowman, throw the snowman." And some said, "No, no, throw the trash can, throw the trash can." So I knew I had their attention, and it was sort of like pulling cups out of a hat. It was like a magic trick. So this is the snowman. And usually when I make this form, I'll actually take my finger and I press in right here. And it sort of makes it even look more figurative in some way, or more like a snowman. And often when people drink, they come back and revisit that place by putting their hand there. So once talking with a colleague, we were talking about art. And in that conversation, he said that everything an artist makes is a metaphor. And I, over the years, have found that to be true. And very loosely defined, a metaphor is something that just references something else. So often the most compelling pots, and certainly cups that people make, not only are a cup that you might use on a daily basis, but they also often remind you of something else. And I think you can sort of see how that might reference a flower. One of my favorite phrases is simply to notice what you notice. And for some reason, I guess I know why, but I've always liked metal that's bent. And I think the reason I respond to that is because on one side of me knows that the metal is very hard and rigid. And so when it's bent, I know that there was some powerful force or action that caused it to move. And then I always love the next part in terms of making it a bent can. And I'll literally take my finger here and press in and bring it out, and then take my thumb on this side. And then sometimes I'll make another movement here. And it sort of alters it, and then you can certainly, when you drink out of this cup, revisit where it was bent. So you have this sense of symmetry becoming very sort of asymmetrical. This last cup, it's called Sticks and Snow. I read a book about metaphors, and one of the things that I read in the book was apparently deadlines came from the Civil War. When either on the Confederate or Union side they would capture soldiers, they would tell the prisoners, "You see those 2 trees? There's a line between those 2 trees. And if you go beyond the line, you'll get shot." So that line between the trees became the deadline. So that's a metaphor in terms of this moment in time or place that you have to meet or not meet. The lines that are put in the side of the cup vary from one side to the next. And hopefully they're sort of provocative enough that you want to move the cup around to see all sides of it. Let me do that again. Sure. Okay.